Hey guys, what's going on? Crucible Hydra here, back with another EDH guide. Today we are getting into Klauth, Unrivaled Ancient. So let's get into it. What is Klauth Unrivaled Ancient all about? Well, for 5 generic and the red and the green, legendary creature dragon, 4/4 flying haste. When he attacks, add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the total power of attacking creatures. Spend this mana only to cast spells until end of turn. You don't lose this mana set to the phase's end. So what we want is payoffs for attacking, payoffs for playing creature spells, big creatures spells to be specific, like 8, 7, 19, whatever have you, CMC. Or just big spells in general, but mostly big creature spells. So first, we have just outright huge creatures to fuel this ability. So let's get started with Italic Primal Storm. 4 generic, double red, legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur, 6/6. Whenever he attacks, or this dinosaur attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying its mana cost. So alongside being pretty hefty, this guy also has a hefty, powerful ability, like being able to like exile something like Rise of the Dark Realms and being able to cast it for free is scary. Rakdos Lord of Rights, which would just, that would be a GG. So Itali is pretty scary in this deck. Next is Skyline Despot. I don't know. 5 generic, double red, creature dragon, 5/5. Flying, whenever it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. And the beginning of your upkeep, if you're the monarch, put a 5/5 red dragon creature token onto the battlefield with flying. So a decent army maker, decently big army maker. Giant Adaphage. 5 generic, double green, creature insect, trample 7/7. When it deals combat damage to a player, put a token that's onto the battlefield that's a copy of Giant Adaphage. So this makes copies of itself really fast, really quick, and you can just go absolutely ham with 7/7s. Trampled, by the way. Genesis Hydra, X and double green. Probably one of the most powerful cards in here because it's an X spell. Creature Plant Hydra, 0/0. Whenever you cast a reveal top X cards of your library, you may put a non-land permanent card with CMC X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Shuffle the rest into your library. Pretty nice. So you can get a pretty big Genesis Hydra because this also enters battlefield with X multiple counters on it. With the amount of mana you're producing, this is going to be outright huge. And you can also get another really big creature because you could, like, essentially, most likely by the time you're casting this, Klauth has given you 15, 20, 30 mana. God knows how much. And you'll cast it for so much mana that the X value will literally allow you to just reveal your entire library and then just pick whatever you want. So probably one of the most powerful cards in this deck. Definitely run this in Klauth Unrivaled Ancient Commander. A definite must-have. Just like in previous Great Worm. 7 generic, triple green, creature worm, 16/16, convoke. Your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 generic or 1 mana of that creature's color. Indestructible. So since we're going to be casting a lot of spells, pretty cheap 16/16, pretty easy 16/16, especially in this deck where most creatures are going to be power like 6, 7, 8 or greater, like this one. And then on the next turn, when this is no longer summoning sick, this is an easy 16 mana in addition to whatever you have, thanks to Klauth. Like Klauth alone has to attack. So Klauth and the Impervious Great Worm alone gives you 20 mana to deal with. That's way more than plenty. Another great and very powerful card in this deck is Voracious Hydra. X and double green, so once again going to be very powerful, just like Genesis Hydra. Trample 01. Enters the battlefield with X ++ counters on it. And when it enters the battlefield, you have two options that you could choose. That one obviously being scarier than the other. I'll read the less scary one first. Voracious Hydra fights target creature you don't control, which most likely it will survive and kill it unless that creature has death touch. Or you can double the number of ++ counters on Voracious Hydra, making it maniacally huge and probably just overkill at that point. Like, you could probably turn this thing into like a 52? No. 50-51, sorry. Anyways, Berserk, absolutely nuts. Probably just want to, it's probably, if you're gonna do it, just run X-Spell creatures in Klauth Unrivaled Ancient, if that's kind of all you have available to you. Because let me tell you, these cards will pay off because they're gonna be huge. And then when it comes to your next turn, and they're able to attack, like once again with Genesis Hydra and like Impervious Great Worm, they're going to be adding a ridiculous amount of mana thanks to Klauth. Apex Devastator, 8 generic and double green creature Chimera Hydra. Cascade, 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 10/10. So this creature, when you cast it, it cascades 4 times, meaning that you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exile cards on the bottom of your library in a random order, multiple instances of Cascade, each trigger separately. So you cascade 4 times, meaning you can get a creature or permanent that isn't a land onto the battlefield for free that is 9 CMC or less, which is absolutely insane. And you're getting 4 of these things. So that can be something like our next card here, Gigantosaurus, 5 mana, 10/10. Or you could get Giant Adaphage, or Skyline Despot, or Italic Primal Storm. Like anything that is less than 9 CMC or less, you can get with Apex Devastator, in addition to it being a 10/10. So, and then the next turn, you're able to turn those things sideways if they're creatures, along with Apex Devastator and Klauth. Meaning, in short, this was also going to give you a stupid amount of mana. Gigantosaurus, nothing big to it, except it's a 5 mana 10/10. Like, come on, Wizards, what were you thinking when you made this? I mean, Trample and this would have been a game ender. But still, 10/10 for 5, ridiculous. Like, that's coming out before Klauth. So when Klauth comes out, your opponents are in big trouble. Because if Klauth and Gigantosaurus are the only creatures you have on the battlefield for some reason, then it's not going to stay away for long, because as Klauth attacks and so is Gigantosaurus, then you're certainly getting 14 mana of any and that is mana of any color in any combinations, I believe. So next we have Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger, 6 generic and double green legendary creature Predator. Trample 7/6, decently huge. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. As if we'd be needing that. I mean, come on. Whenever opponent taps a land, though, for mana, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So this is really more aiming to shut down your opponent's stuff. But it's also a nice big creature that, if need be, you can double the amount of mana your lands produce, which is pretty nice. But still pretty much a game ender by the time you cast this, because then that's locking up your opponent's lands until like the next turn. Because then they aren't, because whenever a opponent has the land for mana, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untapped step. Meaning that they pass to you, you do your stuff, you pass to them, those lands don't untap, and then until they pass to you, you pass to them, and only then do those lands that they tapped get to untap. So that is like 2 turn cycles. And in a 4-way, that can be a long time going without mana you need. So Void Collectors is more just shutdown plans. Elder Gargaroth, 3 generic double green creature beast, vigilance, reach, trample, 6/6 when it attacks or blocks. So and it'll be doing both because of vigilance and reach and trample when it comes to attacking. But anyways, choose one, create a 3/3 green beast creature token, so this can help you create sort of a little army. Like 3/3s aren't bad. You gain 3 life if you needed to, since you're an aggressive deck and you're not going to be holding back much. Life gain might be good, just so you can stay in there and keep attacking and have life for the crackback. Or draw a card, which can be very helpful, especially since you may end up empty-handed because of how much stuff you're probably going to be casting. Anyways, so then we have Utrava Hellkite, 6 generic double red creature dragon flying 6/6. When our dragon you control attacks, create 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying. And if you couldn't tell, Klauth Unrivaled Ancient here is a dragon. So Utrava Hellkite is going to make you a big army of 6/6 flyers, which is going to be scary. Your opponents are going to get absolutely swarmed, first of all. Second of all, 6/6 flyers, those are decently big, and Klauth is, in short, going to be giving you a lot of mana, like an increasing amount, because over the course of the game, you're going to be getting more and more 6/6s, and that's going to improve your mana by a lot, really stupidly fast. So good card, gives you more mana than what is necessary probably. Next is Dragon Tempest to go in combination with that, kind of. 1 generic and a red. This is also kind of like more the battlefield, or also just combat tricks. Whenever a creature of flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until end turn. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. So in combination with Utrava Hellkite and this, you could end the game pretty fast, and also call it the Unrivaled Ancient. Don't forget him. He's the guy you're building around in this deck, in case you couldn't tell. But as you're attacking more and more with Utrava Hellkite and just other dragons in general, this is going to be helping you deal damage to eliminate creatures and entire players. Next, we have Galta Primal Hunger, 10 generic, double green, legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur, 12/12, cost X, generic, less to cast. Rex is the total power of creatures you control. Trample. So once again, another stupidly big card that can be stupidly cheap. because of how much power we're going to have on our board state, how much combined power, I should say, we're going to have on our board state. Because like Utrava Hellkite, that's a 6/6 right there. That's making me more 6/6s. Elder God Garoth, Apex Devastator, Gigantosaurus alone can do it. Genesis Hydra probably, Impervious Great Worm most definitely. I'm 16/16. Yeah. So once again, another overkill card, and for like essentially most likely will be two double green. You'll be getting a 12/12 with trample. And to go in combination with that, we have Quartzwood Crasher. What is Quartzwood Crasher? Not Trasher, Crasher. It is a dinosaur beast with trample, and it's 6/6, for two generic, double red and green. Whenever one of our creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. So once again, making stupidly big creatures, and those creatures are going to be getting increasingly big and increasingly stupid in size. So outright ending the game, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of these are just overkill because of how powerful this is. World Spotting Worm, 8 generic triple green, so 11. Creature Worm, 15/15 trample, going in combination with Quartzwood Crasher. When it dies, create 3 5/5 green worm creature tokens with trample on, well, put them onto the battlefield. So there's that. And then when it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, so that's from your hand, from your library, via mill or discard, or via sacrifice or death, shuffle it into its owner's library, which is even scarier, meaning it can be recast, can die again, create you 3 5/5s, and just do that over and over. A pretty stupid card. Stupid as in good. And I mean, trample 15/15, like at this point, your opponents are probably done. There's no coming back from that, Chief. Speaking of Chief, Stonehoof Chieftain, 7 generic and green creature centaur warrior, 8/8 trample indestructible. Whenever another creature you control attacks, it gains trample and indestructible until end turn. So this is more focused around attacking it with combat and stuff. But still 8/8, decent size, trample indestructible, and giving trample and indestructible to other creatures you control. I mean, Quartzwood Crasher, like that's just ending the game right there. And this is within like a matter of like 5, 6, maybe even less turns because of how much mana we're getting. Next is more of an army creator, but still a great creature because of how much it can buff itself up. It's Goblin Rabble Master, 2 generic and a red, so pretty cheap. Gun Warrior 2/2. Nice to start off with because we're mostly casting big creatures and we could end up not having a bunch of mana, which could be a problem. But still, Goblin Warrior, other goblin creatures you control attack each turn available. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 1/1 red goblin creature token on with haste onto the battlefield. So it will be attacking, and whenever Goblin Rabble Master attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end turn for each other attacking goblin. Meaning that before Klauth's attack trigger, you can stack it so that Goblin Rabble Master goes first, making him ridiculously big, possibly, which then results in you getting all the more mana. Still a nice card because it's early in the game, so early damage, which is what Red Green wants to do. Ramp and get dirt damage out early, and also get creatures and more damage out in the late game. But this is playing to do everything early game. So this is a nice card. Just like Yarvo, Lord of Garenberg. or brig. I don't know. Triple green, just simply triple green. Legendary creature, giant noble, 0/0 enters battlefield with 4+ counters on it. So a decently sized creature for a decently cheap amount of mana. Whenever another green creature enters battlefield under your control, put ++ counter on Yarvo. Then if that creature's power is greater than Yarvo's power, put another +1/+1 counter on Yarvo. So this is going to get really big, really fast. It's a nice creature because it can pump itself up a lot within a short amount of time. All in all, just keep playing green creatures and this will get pretty big. I mean, World Spawning Worm, Quartzwood Crusher will probably provide. Elder Gargaroth can definitely provide. Giant Adaphage, things like that. Just green creatures, and then this will get bigger and bigger. But then there's this card that gets big all at once. Towering Titan. 4 generic, double green, creature giant, 0/0, enters battlefield with X, +1/+1 counters on it. Where X is the total toughness of other creatures you control. Sacrifice a creature defender. All creatures gain trample turn. Knock, knock. That's what the card says. The whole sacrifice defender part isn't going to matter because we are not defending. That is the last thing we're doing because we are red-green. We do not think, we just go in. But still, nice creature because it's going to probably enter in very big. Most likely within the teens or maybe even 20s worth of power because that's going to be however much toughness we have. And these creatures, if you cannot tell, are pretty chunky. So yeah. Anyways, jokes aside, we have Krenko 10th Street Kingpin, which I should actually put up right by Goblin Rabblemaster. 2 generic in the red, so another nice creature, just like Goblin Rabblemaster, because it's cheap and it gets big. Legendary creature Goblin, 1/2. When he attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on him. Then create a number of 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. So Goblin Rabblemaster goes and Krenko 10th Street Kingpin go hand in hand. Both great creatures, especially in combination with each other, buffing each other up and making a lot of goblins. Because this is the total power of creatures you control. So that doesn't mean just like big creatures. This can be like a bunch of small creatures. And also Krenko's getting bigger, so win-win all the way. Next is Hero's Bane. A very, very good creature. 3 generic, double green, creature Hydra, 0/0 enters battlefield with 4+ counters on it. 2 generic and double green, put X ++ counters on it. Where X is its power. So side note here, the mana from Klauth cannot be used on Hero's Bane because it is meant to be only used on casting spells and not activating abilities, unfortunately. Because if that were the case that it can be used on Hero's Bane ability, then Hero's Bane would have definitely been in the Draconic Rage pre-con. Because Klauth Unrivaled Ancient is also in there. Still, though, good creature nonetheless, and it's gonna get stupidly big, stupidly fast. Not to mention, we're not gonna be using our lands all that often, so there's just gonna be probably free land lying around waiting to be used. And Hero's Bane will use that land to pump itself up and make us even more mana. Next is kind of it's an interesting one. Songwriting Dragon, 1 red, creature dragon flying, 3/3, can attack or block unless it has 5 or more ++ counters on it. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, put a ++ counter on Slumbering Dragon. So this is an interesting creature because it prevents your your opponents for one attacking you, because this thing can get huge, especially going against EDH players that like to run white or like army decks. Two is the way it's enabled by being attacked. It's kind of red-green style. You get attacked, you attack back, but even better. All in all, good card. Definitely a little strange, may not be used in this deck because it isn't able to attack right off the bat, and then it'll just discourage your opponents from attacking you and not get any possible counters. But it could still be good for on crackback. And flying, so decent creature. All in all, great. Maybe run this in your deck. It's a nice creature to play on turn 1. Next, we have Inferno Titans. 4 generic, double red, creature giant, 6/6. For red, you can pump it up for 1 power. So you spend 1 red, gets +1/+1 until on turn. When it attacks, or whenever it's a battlefield action set, it deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. So it can kill like 3 1/1s, 2/2, and a 1/1. Or like it could just deal 1 damage to all 3 of your opponents, or deal 3 damage to just something right off the bat, or like a planeswalker, or like straight to your opponent, one of your opponent's face. Like there are many ways you can go with this. Like I said, with Hero's Bane, cannot pump itself up using Klauth's mana. A little unfortunate, but still pretty good because you're gonna have lands lying around because you may not be using your lands all that much because of how much mana Quartz is able to produce. So still a good card. Next, I believe. Okay, after this, so then this one, then the last one. So Combustible Gear Hulk, 4 generic, double red, artifact creature construct. First strike 6/6, so decently big. Whenever it's battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, you mill 3 cards, then Combustible Gear Hulk deals damage equal to that player, equal to the total mana value of those cards. So opponents better be careful because we're going to be casting big creatures in this deck, meaning that if we mill, most likely we are probably going to deal a bunch of damage to that player who did not allow us to draw cards. We can whiff, sure, but most likely because of the fear of being outright killed, due to the fact that most of our cards are like 6 CMC or greater, they'll probably just have us draw 3 cards. And if we whiff during the mill, oh well, we have a first strike 6/6, not bad. Especially in red. And against Death Touch, I must add. Now I believe we get into sort of I'll make it official. We're getting into combat tricks, so like haste, buffs, things like that. Starting with Urabrask, the hidden, 3 generic, double red, legendary creature predator, for 4 creatures control have haste, creatures opponent control, enter the battlefield tapped, meaning that they will not be able to defend their owners unless it is, of course, us, because it is our creatures that are also getting haste thanks to Urabrask. And so any hope your opponents would have of blocking by playing creatures out and just making a big army is now gone thanks to Urabrask, meaning you can freely, most likely, swing in unless they have a board wipe like Settle the Wreckage, in which case you'd probably just get a bunch of lands. But still, haste, tap your opponent's creatures, pretty nice. Vortusk Liege, 1 generic and triple hybrid red-green creature Goblin Knight, trample 3/4. Other red creatures you control get +1/+1. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1. So nice buff. In the Web of War, 3 generic double red enchantment. Whenever a creature comes into play under your control, it gets +2/+1 and gains haste. So war power gives haste. If you didn't have it already, Klauth is just going to give us more mana due to the effect of increased power of those creatures. And probably most likely ending the game. And this can also be cast using the mana produced by Klauth, because that is not dedicated to just creatures. It is dedicated to casting spells and casting spells only. This includes enchantments like in the Web of War. So all in all, nice. Could be a game ender. Could just allow you to have more mana than what you possibly need. Next is Patron of the Akai. 4 generic double red legendary creature spirit. 5/5 Goblin Offering. You may play this card anytime. You can play an instant by sacrificing a goblin and paying the difference in mana cost between this and the sacrificed goblin. Mana cost includes color. So you sacrifice like one of the goblins you don't want. So like if you for some reason didn't want Goblin Rabble Master, which I wouldn't see a reason why you would want to sacrifice it, then this costs 3 less, but most likely you won't need it. However, when Patron of the Kai attacks, creatures you control get +2/+1 on turn. So once again, stack this before the Klauth trigger, and then you're going to be getting a lot more mana. So like you have 3 creatures, and then you would usually get like say 5. I said 3, right? Yeah, 3 creatures. You usually get 15 mana from them on an attack thanks to Klauth. Well, 19 in total. Now, thanks to Patron of the Akai attacking, so 20, 24, and you also have 5 creatures attacking, so that's 10 additional mana right there. When that's up. All in all, what I'm trying to say is Patron of the Akai should definitely be ran in Klauth's Unrivaled Ancient Commander decks due to its attack trigger. Just like how Vigor should be run in any deck running green, mostly. 3 generic, triple green, creature, elemental incarnation, trample 6/6. If damage would be dealt to another creature you control, prevent that damage and put a +1 counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. And Vigor would be put into a graveyard from anywhere. Shuffle it into its owner's library. So now our creatures cannot die via combats. They can only die via spells. Otherwise, in that case, that they're being dealt damage. Thanks to Vigor, they're just getting pumped up because they're getting +1/+1 counters for each 1 damage that is being prevented. Like suddenly you have a 1/1 that goes up against a 15/15, and boom, you got 16/16 that hasn't died. And then your opponent's scared of you. All in all, this will buff up your army by probably a bunch, because most of the stuff you're attacking with is probably on the ground, due to the fact that most big things don't fly, except for dragons. But still, powerful creatures, what I'm trying to say. Definitely run this in most of your decks that involve green, because they will be bumped up. Next is Shared Animosity, because we are mostly running goblins and dragons. So enchantment, whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. So you have 4 dragons, then they attack. They're each going to get +4/+4. If they have 4 power, then they suddenly become 8 4s. Or like 4, yeah, sure. Still pretty good, because we're running mostly goblins and dragons, I believe, for the most part, along with others. Next is Crucible of Fire. So 3 generic in a red and Enchanted Dragon control get +3/+3 that pumps up our commander. Utrava Hellkite's tokens, now making them 9/9s. And other dragons that we have. So pretty nice. Next is Animated Forerunners. 5 generic, triple green, creature board, 7/7, vigilance, trample, haste. And usually this is a card that be used in standard or seen ending a game between you and your opponent, depending on whose side it was. When it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and trample until in turn. Like I said, game ender right there. Most of the time, I've seen my fair share of ends in MTG Arena due to Enraged Forerunners. It is pretty infuriating sometimes. Because of how powered it is. I mean, vigilance, trample, haste, 7/7. Other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and trample, meaning they're ready for the crackback. They get buffed, not to mention trample, which is most likely ending everything. Next is Triumph of the Hordes, 2 generic, double green sorcery. If your opponents have just not died at this point for whatever stupid reason, here you go. Until in turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample and infect. There you go. Creatures you control and creatures with infect deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. So most likely killing your opponent's creatures by putting a bunch of -1/-1 counters on them. And this works on indestructible creatures, because if they have no toughness, they just die. And to players in the form of poison counters. And if a player has 10 or more poison counters on it, guess what? They lose the game. So Triumph of the Hordes, probably most likely ending the game, if it hasn't been ended already. In which case, how? Next is Gathering Hydra, which is most definitely going to end the game within a few turns. Because for 3 generic, double green, sorry. I was about to say triple red. Creature Hydra, 0/0, trample. It enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+ counters on it. When it attacks, double number of +1/+ counters on each creature you control. So if creatures happen to have +1/+ counters on them, guess what? Those counters are getting doubled. And like I said, sack this before your Klauth, the unrivaled ancient attack trigger, so you can get as much mana as you could possibly want, and in whatever stupid amount you want. Next is Vorinclex, monstrous rare to go in combination with this monstrous card. 4 generic, double green, legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, 6/6 trample haste. So first of all, trample haste 6/6 in green for 6. Nice. You would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent player instead. And since it's us putting those +1/+ counters on permanent or players, Gathering Hydra is suddenly way scarier, because first of all, it's entering in with 8 +1/+ counters, and then when it attacks, it's not only doubling, it's actually not doubling the amount of counters on creatures we control. It's actually quadrupling technically, because if we put counters on a permanent and we put double on or player, then we put double of those counters instead. Meaning that if something had 1 +1/+ counter on it and a Gathering Hydra attacked, it would get 1, and then it'd actually get 3. +1, double the number. +1, 2. Yeah, it would get more than what it. Essentially, you're getting way more out of Vorinclex when you're playing this. And if an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a parent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent player, instead rounded down, meaning if they were to use planeswalkers, +1s on planeswalkers no longer work, because it's being rounded down to 0. So now your planeswalkers are gaining half the loyalty or no loyalty at all. They're still using their abilities, so it still counts. But that means they cannot progress loyalty-wise upwards. They can only go down, essentially, mostly. Or they go up at a really slow rate, delaying the eventual ultimate enough for you to get in and kill that planeswalker. Or if an opponent would have infected me putting poison counters on you, Vorinclex here could possibly save your life from that 10 needed. Still, all in all, good card. What I'm trying to say, and yes. So you're essentially quadrupling the amount of counters is what I was trying to say with Kalani and Hydra's attack trigger in combination with Vorinclex, I think. Crater Hoof Behemoth. 5 generic, triple green, creature beast, 5/5 haste, enters battlefield, creature you control get trample and get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So if you have a lot of creatures, then they're going to get a lot of power. It's going to be a lot of mana, but more likely than anything, the game ending, because Crater Hoof Behemoth is the game ender. Next, I believe we now get into sort of payoff cards for the way you're playing our commander. Just like payoff in general for like what we're doing. So casting creature spells, casting a lot of spells in one turn, having a lot of creatures. Primeval Bounty. 5 or Army Makers, I should also say. 5 generic and a green enchantment. Whenever Primeval Bounty. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 +1 counters on target creature you control. Whenever a land enters battlefield and you control, you gain 3 life. So life gain counters not very often because we're not casting all that many non-creature spells, but definitely a lot of 3/3s because of how many creature spells we're casting. And then there's Chancellor of the Forge. 4 generic, triple red, creature giant, 5/5. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do at the beginning of the first upkeep, play 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste onto the battlefield. When Chancellor of the Forge enters the battlefield, put X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens with haste onto the battlefield. Works the number of creatures you control, so another big payoff card for having a lot of creatures. Verdant Force helps it out. Because for 5 generic triple green, it's elemental, 7/7, so big creature. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green 7 creature token. So by the time it's come around, back to you, you have 3 creatures in total that are ready to attack. 4 in total that have been produced by Verdant Force. Nice card. Enter the Warrens. 3 generic and a red sorcery. Create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Storm. When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. I like how it says this. Never just 1 goblin. Oh no, it's so many more. Than 1. So since we're casting a lot of spells, obviously Empty the Warrens, it's gonna be another big payoff by giving us just an army, just like Breath of Fury. 2 generic and double green enchant aura. Enchant creature you control. When enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice and attach Breath of Fury to a creature you control. If you do, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. And if you decide, and if you happen to include Landlord Tribe and Whisper Silk Cloak in this deck, along with Utrava Hellkite and Breath of Fury, you actually have one of the infinite combos available to you that was presented in the infinite combo video I made like a week or so back. So all in all, that could end up being infinite combat stats and infinite mana in this deck, thanks to Klauth. But all in all, additional combats for as long as you have the creatures to attack with that can get through, you're going to be set to go to end the game. Next is Terror of the Peaks. 3 generic, double red, creature dragon, flying 5/4, spells your opponents cast that target Terror of the Peaks, costs an additional 3 life to cast, so right off the bat, life loss for even targeting it with spells that beat your opponents. Whenever another creature enters battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So this can kill planeswalkers, creatures, and even players on the spot if you play enough, which most likely you will with how much you're playing and how big your creatures are. And then Warstorm Surge essentially does the same thing. 5 generic and a red enchantment. Whenever a creature enters battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So there you go. Embercleave rewards us for doing what we do, because for 4 generic, double red, it's legendary artifact equipment flash. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control, so it rewards us for attacking. And whenever it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. And this can be cast right as we attack with Klauth, because his ability triggers when we attack. And the creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample, and whenever Embercleave enters battlefield attached to target creature you control, a quick cost of 3 generic, cannot use Klauth's mana to equip, but still double strike, trample, +1/+1. That's probably ending the game depending on who you equip this to. All in all, pretty nice, and can be used right off the bat with Klauth's mana right as you attack with him and all other creatures you control, because it has flash. Surrak, the Hunt Caller, 2 generic, double green, legendary human warrior, 5/4, formidable. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target creatures you control gains haste until end turn. Could probably be better, something like Colossification, I believe it is. But still, it probably could be something better than just this giving something haste. Like Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. That thing will definitely go wild. Anyways, but seriously, Ashaya, its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types, meaning they can tap for green mana as long as they're not something sick. But also, Ashaya would go crazy because of how many creatures you would have on your field, not to mention probably how many lands. So probably a better card to replace with this, or like a scary as all get out Eldrazi, like Emrakul, that betrays, you name it. All Eldrazi are scary. So probably a good thing to replace. Wolfguard of Icewind Dale, 3 generic, red and a green, legendary creature, human barbarian, melee. So if I remember right, when this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each other opponent being attacked? Question mark? I kind of forgot because melee has not been that important. Besides, that's not what matters. What matters is if a creature you control attacking would cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger. That ability triggers an additional time, meaning you're getting double the mana you would otherwise through Klauth, which is absolutely overkill at this point. Next is Beast Whisperer. Choose a generic double green creature elf druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So this completes the cycle. Allowing you to draw cards as you cast a creature spell is very important. 2/3. Because it'll just come around to your turn. You will have like a board state of just humongous creatures, or just like a huge board state in general. Will probably allow you to, survive the crackback if you needed to, if everyone wasn't dead already, or near dead, or just like a big board state if you're behind for some reason, which I couldn't really think of one reason why you would be. All in all, great card, just allows you to go nuts. Just like Tectonic Giant. 2 generic and double red creature elemental giant 3/4. When it attacks or becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, choose one. It deals 3 damage to each opponent, so it can hit everyone with 3. Or exile top 2 cards of your library, and then you choose one of them. Exile until the end of turn. Until your next turn actually, you may play that card. So kind of digging through your library, allowing you to get answers pretty soon as it attacks. And because of Wolfgar of Icewind Dale, this will be triggering twice when it attacks. So you can choose to deal 3 damage, exile the top 2, or exile 4 in total, and choose 2 cards. Well, each triggering separate times, so you go through the process 2 separate times. Or deals 6 damage to each of your opponents, essentially. And finally, we come down to our 50th non-land card, probably the scariest card to cast. Crackle with Power, triple X and double red sorcery. It deals 5 times X damage to each effect to X targets. And with the amount of mana we have, this is game over. End of story. Like, no coming back from because say you pump 3 mana into each X. So X then becomes 3 because you divide the total amount of mana you spent on X by however many X's there are, which then, so 9 in that case, which would then become 3. So then you'd be able to deal 5 times X damage to each of up to X, 5 times your 3 damage to each of up to 3 targets. So that'd be 15 damage to up to 3 targets. Or an insane 45 damage to up to 9 targets, I believe. Yeah. Because we'll probably have enough mana to do so. Next, we get into our land cards, our non-basic lands to be specific. Order Reef, the Vastwood land enters the battlefield. Tap, add green to your mana pool, or tap, put a +++ counter on each green creature that enters the battlefield this turn. Now, this is each green creature that enters the battlefield this turn. So if your opponents have green creatures that enter the battlefield on your turn for whatever reason, then they're going to be getting those ++ counters too. But all in all, pretty nice. Because we're going to be playing a lot of creatures, a lot of green creatures, making a lot of green tokens. All pretty nice. And then Maelstrom Bridge is a stupid card, honestly, in this deck. Probably don't even need it. But we have it anyways, in case you needed it. I don't know why you would. But Hideaway, this land enters battlefield tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library. Tap, add green to your mana pool, or green tap. You may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. And creatures you control have total power 10 or greater. They're gonna have way more than 10, that's for sure. So Mossel Bridge, easy peasy, freezy, casty wasty. I don't know. Spider Renewal, same thing, except tap red. Tap for red, I should say. And then red tap, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. If an opponent was dealt 7 war damage this turn, most likely they will have been. And then another great card that makes absolute sense in this deck, Raging Ravine. Enters the battlefield, tapped. It can add red or green, but more importantly, 2 generic red and green, and so on the turn, it becomes a 3/3 red and green elemental creature with whenever this creature attacks, put plus the counter, it's still a land. So it gets bigger as it attacks. It's going to be making you mana thanks to Klauth. And all in all, it's just good. It can also provide red green if you need it. And that is the end of our non-basic lands. So now 6, 23. Okay, so we have 23 basic forests and 23 basic mountains. That is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this commander guide going over Klauth Unrivaled Ancient, which is from one of the newer precons, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. He comes from Draconic Rage, the red-green precon, obviously. If you enjoyed this and you want more of this EDH content, please subscribe, like this video, share this video along with other content you've seen on my channel with others. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that way you don't miss another video like this one. And I hope to see you once again. Of you all who are supporting me right now, we are at 7 subscribers, 3 away from 10, guys. And I will see you next time. See ya.